stepping my way through this. All right. Well, welcome. Thank you for coming tonight. We are talking about our fifth Kyong, jung, our third eye tonight. So at first I want to just do a real quick review on jang, on our genitals. And first I want to ask Robin, what is the main thing, or what is it that stuck with you the most tonight or last week with jang when we spoke about jang?
I mean, strangely, talking about the poop and how like it tells a whole thing about ourselves, but also like, what was it? I wrote it down, and I was reading it right before when I was waiting to get connected to you guys. We can tell so much about everything by our elimination, by our changing, everything about what's going on in our body. Yeah. If we're dehydrated, we have hemorrhoids and all of that, and how that really, it relates to the whole, where the gut really tells you everything about what's going on, and that's just that. I think that stuck with me. It was just confirmation of that. Like, if you feel bad, all of a sudden you have a tummy ache, and then you have a cramp, and then the next thing you're like, oh, I'm a little constipated, or oh, I have diarrhea. Like, it's all related. Like, so much our body tells us, that part of our body tells exactly how we're feeling. It's like almost like the first sign. Yeah. Like, you start to have that feeling where you don't feel really good before you're even sick, or before you're down that road. You already know, because you start to not feel well in your gut.
Right. All of a sudden it's like, oh. Yeah. Good. Excellent. I'm glad that was remarkable for you. How about you, Aviana?
Well, certainly the poop, and both of my parents, have, I don't know what it is about senior citizens and wanting to talk about their elimination, but both my parents have huge issues with constipation, and my mother in particular with hemorrhoids. In fact, she's talking about having a surgery for her hemorrhoids.
Oh.
And what you said about the anger and the fear of letting go are just so right on for both of my parents. And I wish I could get them to understand that, but
yeah, I can't.
have not been successful with that. But it was just kind of like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's with the folks, they came from that era, the Depression time, and it's hoarding and just holding on to what little you have, even if it is, your bowel kind of thing. And it just really rips up the body, emotionally, physically, if we can't get, if we're just continuing to hold on and just stuff, and then hold on some more. It's huge. I'm really surprised with the older, or the next previous, however that is, generation. They have very difficult time, and bowel cancer, rectal cancer is huge. It's a huge problem with folks, and that the main key, they are holding on. They just cannot let go of the past, or they can't assimilate it, so they can't let go of it. Yeah, interesting that would be such.
Well, they control.
Yes.
They're able to control that.
That's the only, as they get older, they're losing control of everything else, So you're right. That is one thing that they can totally, control on. And then, then the medications and everything that goes with being older does not help. It just makes their system so, hard to work with and hard to move. And it can be a real scary situation for the elders. I remember one time my mom was having problems, and I stopped by to visit just for a little while. It wasn't even for, it was a couple hours. I was really just stopping by. And they told me that she was having problems. So I quick did the back flush, and I worked on her bowel a little bit. And then, I was there for a couple of hours, and nothing really happened. I happened to then leave. And the next thing I know, it was such a mess for her, and my brother, had to clean everything up and stuff. So she had one weekend moment where she forgot what she was holding on to with having Alzheimer's, and she was able to just release the bowel like she had probably never released it before, which on many levels that was awesome, but on many levels it wasn't so awesome because she couldn't even make it to the bathroom when that hit for her, because she was one of those, just strolling kind of people where she had to use her walker and stuff, and she was fairly slow. So in some ways we were able to release that bowel. In some other ways it was too quick for her physical body to be able to handle. So, yeah, I get that with the elders. It's hard. I know that you were going to talk to your dad, and it's hard, being an elder and forgetful, or if he's living by himself. Is that correct? Your dad?
Right.
Yeah. So,
Yep.
Did you talk to him about the spot or the back flush at all?
I didn't talk to him about the back flush. I did, talk to him about the spot on the hand.
Yeah.
And I've taught him how to work his lines. But he doesn't do it consistently. And he said, the spot on the hand, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
So he definitely needs to be taught the back flush.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, with meds and probably not very much water, because you have to get up and go to the bathroom when you're an elder like that, and it becomes a lot of work when you're an elder, to get up, go to the bathroom, make sure you're drinking your water. We're working with an elder in New Mexico, and she's every one of those problems, urination and bowel, and she's told me some stories. She knows she can't release it, so she's told me stories on how she will go up in there and physically pull things out, any way she can. So she's, picking it out with fingers and other things because she just can't get anything to move. And she understands how gross and disgusting it is, but she says, "Kid, I don't know what else to do," because she doesn't always remember what I taught her to. But, there's some of the important things about tapping your heart and things. She totally gets that part. But, so, we just love them and work with them and have compassion for them. And just, one step our way with them for sure. So, yeah, good. I'm glad that that's really important stuff to stick with for Jang Jang. The other real important thing that I would want us to remember about Jang Jang really is about the inner child. Yes, it is the primal energy that really gets our spirit and our creativity and everything going. And all of that is around our little kid. And, if we can't let our little kid out to play or acknowledge her in any kind of way, our creativity and our passion for life, our wanting to know, it goes away. It dries up and it just goes away. And our kid really is who we are in life. And how, depending on how out there our kid is how successful or where we are as adults. Particularly since our kid is just the awe of who we are, the wonder of Earth and what's happening in nature, or all the little miracles that we as adults tend to forget our little kid a lot. So I really urge you to, if you have a picture of her at the age that you're working with now, to just, find it and stick her on your bathroom window mirror so that you can see her every day and you can remember her, and you can just tell her, I love you, little Lynda, or however, whoever you are, and just let her know, because we forget to do that too. We forget to acknowledge ourselves, and then we end up like our parents, holding on to things because we haven't been acknowledged in a way that is good for our soul. And so we're going to hold on to any little other thing that isn't good for our soul as we get older. So I just, urge you to, if you haven't worked a lot with your little kid, to dialogue with her a little bit and just ask her how she's doing every now and then, and ask her what she would have you know about how things are going in your life. She will answer you, and you might be surprised. I know I was on so many different levels. I was so surprised on what my kid has told me, or, and some of them I don't necessarily like to hear, but I need to hear so that I can get out of my adult head and just kind of move on to what needs to be for the next deal. So that's Jang Jang. I really like Jang Jang a lot. I like to dance and get that primal energy moving, and when I can do that, then I know my little kid is just stepping out and feeling good, and then I'm feeling good. So yeah, Jang Jang's a good and an important Kyong. All of them are important, but I feel like that one is kind of a really important doorway, being at the root of our spine, and how we are able to release and different things from there. So that's a little bit about Jang Jang in a quick review. Tonight we're going to be talking about Sing Jung. Sing Jung is our third eye. And for our body talk or our body needs, we can really tell about Sing Jung if you have had a headache, like a tension headache right in there. So this Kyong kind of covers about this much of our body, okay? So if we're having a hard time concentrating, or if we're feeling lack of dedication to ourselves or a project that we're working on, or allergies, this is a good place where those allergies can be started. We talked a little bit about the allergies that, within the throat. So with the throat and the nose, particularly with the nose, as that is our main point of breath, it's kind of the same thing if we're in a stressful situation, or something traumatic all of a sudden happens while we're doing something, and we take that breath in, that allergen that is right there ready to attach itself if we're weak in any kind of way. So, Robin, I was telling Aviana earlier that the spider bite bit, it got really good for a long time, and then all of a sudden I went out and fed, and I had to be outside a lot this weekend, and it kind of came back. It didn't come back as bad as it once was, but it was quite red and a little bit itchy and irritating. So that, again, is another type of allergy that I believed as I was writing this class tonight. It's like, okay, so why did I get that back? Well, any kind of stress or anything, plus the heat and the weather and everything going down to that barn, and you go like that, already in a weakened state, it's going to go right back to that area, or right to your throat, as that allergen is a weak point for you, Aviana. So in that area, and as allergies come up for us, this is where it will come up as we take that breath in of stress or trauma or whatever. And it can be a really little stressful thought that you have on your brain in that moment. And it could be like so little and minute, but as that cell, as we talked earlier, those cells are so impressionable that they can just latch on and change that intent of that self very quickly. And the allergens is how that is done, by that in-breath. It also kind of creates an adrenaline rush or response. So a lot of times if you feel like you have a veil, kind of coming over you, or that kind of tense your vision, that's also part of the body talk of that allergy that will happen with Xinjiang. A little bit about Xinjiang is that's really our main higher thinking center. Its purpose is to receive and project the movies of life, because that's what we're doing with our third eye. It's, the mind's eye, or the movie screen, the processing center, if you will. And that processes all of the energy or energetic vibrations within this area. So that would it would process the sight and visual vibration. It processes the sound vibration, the smell vibration. Smell is like one of the quickest things that can hit the brain because it's right there. So as we're smelling, we're taking that breath in, it will affect the brain and the autonomic nerve so instantly, and that's why that allergen right there, it's right there with the brain. So it's very, very, very sensitive with the smell vibration. It also is the place where our committee lives. Man, I have shot my committee so many times I can't even believe it. But, my committee used to take off without me, and it would go on and on for days. So I would have to go and visualize my committee. I would put them at the end of a waterfall just before they're going over. So I would be making them be rowing and working so hard so I could get some peace and quiet. Got to do what you got to do to shut the committee down. But that's where the committee lives, in that third eye area. It's also the place where it's the key to where alchemy lives. Because with alchemy, we're visualizing, we're mixing those different energies so that we can create what we want for ourselves and others, so we can project that out. And alchemy likes to be in the moment, kind of a visual type of a ceremony and things like that. So for me, with the alchemy, I've been able to create change through the community for the betterment of the whole. Meaning, we were doing a outdoor ceremony one time, and we were looking at doing the fire ceremony. We were looking at it was raining, it was getting ready to rain, and we had a lot of people from all over the community making long drives to come to this ceremony. And so my prayer was, and I visualized it, Yo Odecido, from where we look out. I visualized it, and it was to hold the rain off. I didn't ask for the rain to stop or to go in a different direction because we needed the rain. But I asked if it could hold until we had the betterment of the whole. Until everybody had gone home, until it was safe for us so we could continue having our ceremony without it being canceled. And then we could also get home safe. So that one worked out awesome. Then we did it again because the community caught on to it, and we did another ceremony. It was a moon lodge up in Northern California, or Northern San Diego, and we did the same thing about holding the rain, but we forgot the part about until everybody got home safe. So just as we were finishing the ceremony, clap of thunder and lightning comes down and the rain just is pouring down. It's like, oh, okay, we're done now. But we did forget to ask, for it to wait until. But if you really put your intent out there, you can really work with the weather, or you can work with and visualize the instant things. And Robin, you got a chance to do that when we worked a little bit at the zoo. And you were visualizing, for these critters to come to you, and that was, to me, it was such an amazing experience for me to watch you do that, for you and Robert to do that, right?
Yeah, it was super awesome, and it was truly amazing. Yeah, it's incredible.
Wasn't that so so empowering for you to really just do that? Absolutely. Yeah, so Aviana, Robin and Robert got to go to the zoo that's where we took one of our photo trips. And Aviana was the one that invited me to do those photo walks in the first place. And so she wasn't able to go on that one with us. But Robin and Robert, oh my God, Aviana, they were hot. They were really hot at calling the critters, at seeing them in front of them and interacting with them. Oh my God, they interacted with these guys like I haven't seen somebody do in a very, very long time. And it was just a fun day. So by making it fun, or making that alchemy, and visualizing it in a way that makes it fun, that's how we're going to create and see what we need right now, and create that change, or what we want to do. So that's like the parking lot. You need a parking lot Buddha. So you put that out there, you see that empty parking space real close to the store because it's raining out or something, you're just too tired, you don't want to be walking that far, and there it is, there's this spot just waiting for you. I mean, so you can really get it to work on so many different levels. It's really fun, and a fun kind of challenge to see if you can do it. Now, I can do it a lot, and I still am practicing. We'll just kind of leave it at that for right now. So physically, the physical location of Sinjung and what it's responsible for is the third eye. It also, we talked a little bit how Kopavi came out of C2, that nerve bit. And so Sinjung is C3. So if you're out at C3 in your neck, then your Kopavi or your Sinjung is going to be a little bit compromised as well. Okay. It is also responsible for the ears, for the inner ear, and for the hearing, for the nose, where that actual breath exchange happens, as well as the sinuses in the cheeks and the frontal sinuses just below the third eye. So we have sinuses above our eyebrows and just below our eyes. And they're different on everybody, on how big they are or how far they'll go across. Everybody has them different, or depending on how much preservatives or prescription drugs you've had. A lot of times the medications will settle in any open spaces they can find, and a lot of that is the sinus, both the frontal and the here, as well as, in the ear canal. So all of that part is what Sinjung is responsible for. It's responsible for the physical eyesight, as well as the inner vision that we project out. And with our eyesight that it's responsible for, and I've been kind of asking myself this question for me with the spider bites on my eyes. What is it that I don't want to see in my life? Or is it that I don't want to be seen in my life? So, this is something that I'm working with here because I definitely want to be seen. I know I want to be seen. So is there a fear around me right now that, makes me something about being seen? So, it's a question that I'm asking as I'm working on stepping out in my practice and different things like that. So it's just something to be a little bit aware of, as we're looking with our vision or hearing even. If we can't hear and there's really not a real good reason for it, what is it that we don't want to hear in life? Or are we not wanting to take in the breath of life through our nose? So we can start asking ourselves some of those kinds of questions with Sin Jung. In the medicine wheel, Sin Jung is the north top bit on our medicine wheel, the outer circle. And Tuma the buffalo is the guardian for that. Tuma is all about prayer and gratitude and abundance. It's also about authentic power, the energy of authentic power. Are we being authentic in our life or authentic in who we are? Which is an interesting question that kind of pops up every now and then. So for our body talk, when we're getting out of that bed in the morning and we're just doing our body assessment as we're sitting there, you can kind of tell about Sin Jung if you have pressure in the temples or you feel like there's a band that's kind of running along there. If you kind of have a brain fog or you just, you're kind of cloudy and you just can't focus in there. I get that sometimes with the spina bifida. If you have swollen eyes, that's going to be a really good sign that, Sin Jung is a little off. If you're congested, sinus pressure. So you can get the sinus pressure, in your cheeks, which is going to be a similar pressure, kind of like that band up here, but it will be more of a pressure. So you can get a band and you can get a pressure. They both hurt, but they both feel just a little bit different. I don't know, always how to explain things, so I apologize for that, but pressure. And you could have quite a bit of mucus in there with that. And all those, signs of waking up are signs of dehydration. So a lot of times if I do have swollen eyes, the eyes aren't really a problem for me as much anymore. But I do get the pressure band sometimes up there. And a lot of that, it's a dehydration. So you can you can check, in your morning, you can already see we're up to the 5th Kyong now, and so many different little body checks that you could know right off if you've had enough water. So for me, a lot of times after I've done my body check, I will do my bathroom deal, get everybody set up, and then I go directly for a hot cup of water, the big tank one. And sometimes I'll put lemon in it, so it's hot lemon water. So I automatically can get that first 20 ounces down. And then I will kind of drink it with my coffee, but I will definitely drink my water first, at least 6 to 8 ounces before I start drinking coffee. And then I'll drink both as I'm going, just so that I can make sure I get that water down. Because, I don't in the morning, if I don't get that first 20 ounces down, with my coffee and in the morning, I don't necessarily always get my water quota in. So I have to kind of do things that will almost guarantee me at least that much in the morning. If I don't have 2 cups down by 2 of my tanks done by 2 o'clock, I'm really behind. I'll usually only drink 3 or 4 22 ounce during the day. But if I don't get them down, if I'm not done with my second bottle by 2 o'clock, I know I'm in trouble. I know I'm really in trouble. So it's really about just being aware, as aware as you can with that morning wake up. Just do that. Take that extra 2 minutes and just assess your body so that you know how to work with it for that day. Or you know what you're going to need to do to get your body up and running for that day. Sometimes for me, if my water and my hand walking, if I don't get that done in the morning, a lot of times I can't get my energy up to where I can be a productive person. It just sort of is a blur, so to speak, of a day. To actually feel Sin Jung, we can feel it as we're just kind of barely touching barely on it. And you might feel it warm, or you might feel it open and just really hot. Or if it's closed down, it will be really cool. Sometimes you might feel it buzzing. You might feel it burning. You might feel pins and needles around that area right there. I feel Sin Jung. I don't always feel it as much as I do like the Kopavi when I'm letting the water run on it. I can usually always feel Kopavi. This one I can feel, and then if I take my hand out a little bit and just kind of feel that energy, I can feel it more or less depending on where I am with my kid and my creativity that day and things like that. If I've just had a really hard mental day, or if I've been in front of the computer all day, then it's fried and it's kind of like stuck, either really wide open or so closed I can't even focus. So those are just a couple of things in feeling that, and in knowing what you've done throughout the day is how it's going to be at the end of the day. And even being on the computer, like even 2 hours like this at night, is hard, really hard on Sin Jung to have those inner waves beating on it and smacking it down, so to speak. For me, my history with Sin Jung was I had just started closing down everything, my vision, my imagination. I couldn't think. I basically lost my little kid, so we couldn't imagine having a great time. We couldn't imagine having, a wonderful life, or being in a place that really served me for where and what I wanted to be in. I was, by that time, Spirit, I feel like Spirit had, I closed him out for sure. I didn't see him, I didn't feel him, so he must not be real. So I was closing things down, and I became really allergic to smells and chemicals in the hospital at that time. And I was such a workaholic, and so everything was just so going down for me that I did pharmaceutical cocaine. I did crank, all in the hospital. I could do all of that in the dark room. Nobody seemed to know or care. And so I was putting stuff up my nose that really did not belong up there, not even a little, and it was. It wasn't a good thing, but I had to go through it so that I could understand, and I believe that's what helped the chemical sensitivities, of course, come on. My eyes became really sensitive to light. I could just hardly even. I was a master at squinting, and everything. I had to have glasses on. I'm still really sensitive to light. But I have also burned my retinas and things a couple of years ago. So they're not as bad as they once were, but I still have to be very careful with everything that I do to them. I closed my movie down. I didn't have any aspirations to do anything and I was just ready to stop everything. I didn't want to see. I didn't want to watch TV. I didn't want to be in front of the computer. It felt fried. It just like I could feel it way out here, but it was a mixed up kind of energy that kind of would come out mixed up like that. And you could feel it. Part of it burned, and part of it itched, and part of it tingled, and part of it was really stingy to me. So I just, boy, now I'm at 5 and almost everything is shut down already, and I'm still ready to just say, okay, I'm done. And with that shut down, excuse me, shoot! Excuse me. With that closed, thank you. With that closed down, so this is part of also what Jung does, is that sneezy congestion thing. With it closed down, you really don't have anything to look forward to. With your movie screen closed, so you can create a movie that is very scary to you. That's creating your own visual hell, so to speak. If your Sinjong is closed down, you're not creating good movies for yourself or positive, sparkling bridge for anybody. So some outside forces that could cause dehydration in Sinjong is smoking of any kind. The sun dehydrates Sinjong, or take it out of balance. Environmental toxins and pollutants. So, environmental toxins, even, that hay that I'm working with, it's so dry that all it is dust right now. So, that becomes a toxin. It's dust. And the dust, the dust breaks down. We really don't know where the hay came from. So it becomes a whole environmental pollutant that we're not even aware of, that kind of just sneaks in the back door. Cleaning chemicals, chemical cleaning products, solvents and paints, harsh facial soaps and cleaners. So, I know there's not a lot of, oftentimes, ingredients in soaps and lotions and facial cleaners like that, but our face is very sensitive to those harsh cleaners, so we want to be a little bit careful and not get the cheapest soap that we can find, or the cheapest lotion, or lotions that have mineral oil or alcohol or any heavy fragrances. As well as little outbursts of anger really dehydrates Sinjong, because that's taking away the vision. It's closing that vision down. Most makeups will dehydrate. So again, you really want to look at your products and not buy the cheapest product, if you can at all help it. Nose spray is a big dehydrator for Sinjong. Just wipes it out quicker than anything. If you have to do a nose spray, then you just want to do like a saline water spray. You don't really need to have anything in it other than the saline. And saline is a salt solution. So that will help rinse and flush all those your sinuses out if you have to do a nose spray. Otherwise, it's very easy to become addicted to nose spray with if it has anything other in it other than saline solution. It's a very easy thing to become addicted to. It's harsh nose sprays. Sitting in front of computers or TV screens is one of the biggest ways or fastest ways that we can dehydrate Xinjiang. As well as if you have your microwave up, like right at your face level. Microwaves are really, really hard on the body, and if you're punching your numbers in and you're standing in front of it while you're waiting for your water to heat up or whatever, it just fries that Xinjiang. As well as like when you're in the car and you have the air conditioner or the heater through the vent set, or even with your windows down, that forced air, whether it be cold or hot, is dehydrating Xinjiang. And, you know, for me, I kind of need air to move at night when I'm sleeping, but I don't need it blowing in my face. It's kind of that thing. So for a little bit, we had a little problems figuring out a way to get that air moving so that I could feel it. So it was in my face for a little while, and I found myself taking the sheet and kind of making a little tent so that I wouldn't wake up so dehydrated where my tongue's kind of stuck to the palate of to the roof of my mouth, and you know, and I'm really working on drinking my water anyhow. So if you're sitting in a car, if you're doing a lot of traveling, and you have that air blasting on your face, that's going to just really mess you up as far as Xinjiang goes. So either shift it so it's not quite at your face, or you can bring it down or up. Have it out here if you can. The majority of that flow, you can have a little bit in here, but not where it's really focused on your face kind of thing. Because then that's also blowing in toxins and environmental toxins and pollutants that we don't even know about. And with the air conditioner, that is, you have all that freon stuff that goes inside of there as well. So you just, anything that's at that level, you don't want it blowing on you. It'll just wipe you out really quick. And then there's MSG. And for Xinjiang, the symptoms of MSG that will hit that one is balance difficulties, messing with the inner ear, serious depression, slurred speech, facial pressure, flashing lights, nervousness, rashes, and alcohol. So some different signs and symptoms of Xinjiang being dehydrated is headaches. Oh yeah, you go, girl. Headaches, dizziness, that tension band of pain in the eyes. Blindness. Do you get to ask that question much, Robin? People are blind. Do they, you know, do you find that it is sometimes a emotional thing of not wanting to see what's going on around them?
I always think that, like, especially if it's brought on, like, obviously you're born with blindness. I mean, if you're born blind, that could be different, but somebody who all of a sudden, like, you'll hear stories where people, like, all of a sudden they can't see, right?
Right.
So what is it they don't want to see? Exactly.
Right.
What's interesting, though, as you were talking, is I was trying to figure out how it relates to, over the last couple years, dry eyes have become extremely, like, everybody who comes in has dry eyes. And I always thought of it as being, environmental, which I'm sure leads to it too. But also, as you were talking, I was thinking, I wonder what else, like, what causes all these people to have dry eyes? Yeah. And a lot of times the biggest symptom of dry eyes, believe it or not, is having the eyes be running. Yeah. Right? So you would think, well, how can their eyes be dry if they're running? Well, it's because your eyes then are trying to fight it, right? Right. So then they do the running so that you won't have the dry eyes. But I mean, that's like a huge thing. But yeah, I mean, people who are blind or people who refuse to wear glasses, I look at it that way too. The people who come in and then they refuse to wear glasses, what don't they want to see? Right. Like, you do an eye exam and you're like, oh my gosh, you don't wear glasses? Like, you're so surprised. Like, you've never worn glasses before? You're so really shocked. Not the older people. I mean, all of us go through a point where we get to wear glasses later in life that we hadn't planned on when we were younger, right? Or we didn't wear when we were younger. But the person who, their prescription is such that it's not caused from normal aging, and yet they've never worn glasses, what do they really not want to see? Yeah. Yeah. Same with the hearing. When we lose our hearing and Honeydew doesn't want to, can't hear you, really can't hear you, or doesn't want to hear you, or, how does that exactly work out in the grand scheme of things too? Well, yeah, and not to, tell stories about Robert, but he's right here, so he's in the other room, so he can hear me. It's okay for me to tell a story, but that was always like a big joke in our family, is that he could sit in the same room. We have 3 kids. The 3 kids and I are kind of loud, right? I mean, kind of. Robert would say we're very loud, but we're loud. We go to a restaurant. We have a good time. We're laughing. Like, he would sometimes just want to get up and leave the table because we're so loud. But he could sit in the room, in the family room, and hear absolutely nothing. And you could speak to him. You could talk about him. We could go, the kids would be like, so what do you think, Dad? Like, we would do it almost as a joke. But, like, it's a perfect example. He could just turn it off. He didn't want to hear it. It's like he was completely deaf at that point in time. He'd completely turn it off so he didn't have to hear any of us. I love it. I love it. Have you had that experience, Aviana?
The selective hearing.
Yes.
Well, part of it, at least in my opinion, is the way men are designed. I mean, men are designed for single focus, whereas women, we have this diffuse awareness. So we're aware of everything, going on all around us. But men, we can only seem to focus on one thing at a time. So if my husband is watching, sports on TV, no, he's not going to hear anything that I'm saying to him.
I just love it. I love it. I find that so interesting. Yeah. Okay, so where were I'm watching that. Yeah, and I'm watching the person in the other room here who's listening as he's doing the dishes, and he's shaking his head because he always loves, of course, when we say it's a man thing or a woman thing, because he's definitely not. He's not like that, but he does have some of those men things that he doesn't like it though when I classify them as a man thing, right? Because he doesn't necessarily believe that. But I mean, yeah, it's definitely single focus when he could sit at his computer and turn all of us out. That's exactly what it is. So. It's kind of, an impressive skill, maybe. I don't know. It is a really good skill. It's actually a really good skill. And if you think about it, like, how many times would you like to turn people out or turn the situation out? Yeah, right. Yeah. Right. And just, be okay with it. I can't seem to do it the way I need to yet. So anyhow, some other signs and symptoms of dehydration for Sing Jung is, I think, did I say face pain? I did say no. Okay.
Well, you said the tension band and the
okay. So then
in the eyes,
sinus pain.
Okay.
Then we did talk a little bit about the deafness.
And then allergies or hay fever, acne, it's a good sign of dehydration, and wrinkles on your face, also a good sign of dehydration. That's all that wind coming in at you. And then blurred vision is one other sign. And itchy ears. Our ears, they're so amazing. I actually, we talked about a little ear chart. I gave you an ear chart for today. And these ear charts are some of the best ear charts that I found. Did you both got your ear charts?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so that our whole ear is like right in there with that, with jung. So, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself on this, but that's okay. To work the ear, I do work my ears every night. And so what I just kind of rub them, I put the ear lobe or the ear itself in between each thumb and an index finger. I start up top and I just add pressure and I rub them back and forth. And oh my God, sometimes it hurts so dang good. It's not even funny how much it hurts. I mean, but that you are getting all these spots and these are way cool points throughout your body that you can then be stimulating. And so you can rub it, and if you find one of those hurty spots, just go over it like 1 or 2 or 3 times and add in that pressure, and then you just pull that earlobe at the bottom. Sometimes when you have that, that muscle that we've been working on for you, Aviana, the sternocleidomastoid, right in there. And that is like right where, as you pull that, it's right where all that muscle comes into. So you can pull it down, you can really feel it really deep in there. And that one can be really, really sensitive at times as well. I use my ear chart all the time, just so that I can start getting the points. And the one that's in color, well, I don't know if you printed them out in color, but this one, this chart right here, with the front, the back, the sides, that is an awesome, awesome chart for just about every point that you might have a question about. Take a few minutes later and go over this, and you can touch these different spots and see if they correlate to the different spots in your body. And if you're pressing here, are you feeling something in that correlating spot? So that you can start getting, you can start feeling the correlation and the different signs that the body tries to tell us. Well, if my ear hurts right here, where does that correlate to? And then you can go into that area on a little bit different level, on a little bit deeper level of what you're actually working with. The Kyongs are really good with the zone that we're working with. And then the ears really will pinpoint it on a really nice little level for you. Just as a lot of times the digits in the hands will tell you that. And we'll go over that a little later. But the ears are wonderful for their own little pressure points and giving you the next step on where you might need to look to get things handled for yourself to feel a little bit better. So do we have any questions so far about jung? Viviana, do you have any questions?
Well, I have a kind of an odd question looking at the ear chart.
Yeah.
And looking at the location of some of the points. What would happen if you had your ear pierced through one of those points? Would it affect
I've always wondered that
points?
question. I have always wondered that question. I asked ancestors about that, and ancestors said, well, it would affect the point in that now the point is not really there on many levels anymore because it's been pierced.
Right.
And you can still work that area so that you can kind of reconnect the area. So when you're not wearing your post or whatever, then take that out, just work it a little bit so that it can keep rejuvenating that pressure line as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Robin, you have any questions so far?
No, I just thought it was very fascinating when I printed these out, because my first thought was, oh, that's like when they put those seeds on your ear and when you go to acupuncture.
Yes.
And then I was like, I wonder if this is the same. And then, of course, I saw down at the bottom where it was printed from acupunctureproducts.com. So I was like, oh, it is the same point.
Yeah. They are the same points. And, and as far as I'm concerned on the ears, it's a wonderful, reflexology to work. And I don't have to recreate the wheel twice. But I do know that with Xinjiang and the ear, it is a wonderful way to help stimulate that whole area. I enjoy working with the ears quite often, particularly if I've done a lot of traveling and if I'm the driver. So as I do long trips, I really try to keep my awareness on my posture. But sometimes those long trips, you kind of start sinking a little and going forward with the seatbelt, and you're just not really. And when I do that, that's when it totally, on this side, it totally pulls. Now I also have my spina bifida right here in that same area, so it becomes just this nasty weak link all through here for me. So then Dai Choke starts getting affected, Pengbu gets affected, and Xinjiang gets affected, and even a little bit of Xinzhou number 9 gets affected in this area as it pulls. But if I pull this down and just kind of, man, it hurts really, really bad sometimes, and that tells me that C3 is out, because we talked about, if C3 is out, you're going to have all kinds of these problems. And if it's that sore here, which is right there, C3, if you sometimes you can feel it, sometimes it's very sensitive. If it's out on one side or the other, you'll feel a bulge on one side and a little dip on the other side of it. So you can get pretty accurate on feeling how the bones are, or how the bones and the muscles reacted during a stressful situation. So for me, when I'm driving, I get C3, that's out, and that pulls my neck forward, and also then it goes down into here, into my shoulder. So these are my main, I get a painful root here, and then it goes down like that. So then if I remember, shoulders back, sit up, head back, then just doing that takes pressure off of that. So I do a quick body check and look and see where I'm at, and then cruise from there if I'm having a long, hard driving day that goes with that. But so mentally, we could get ourselves back into balance by not being afraid of our vision, by embracing Xinjiang and just, being excited about it and seeing that through our mind's eye. And practicing looking for that parking space, in our mind's eye. We ask Buddha, parking lot Buddha, for our space. Or we know we have to go down the freeway and we're kind of a little bit rushed with our time. So we're just going to see ourselves where we need to be nice and safe, calmly, without a lot of havoc or a lot of different kinds of accidents or whatever. Just a nice, easy, calm way to drive on the freeway. Our Xinjiang, it really is a powerful tool for us to use to put out there what we want or what we need. So we really want to watch our thoughts because it's so powerful, and if we start getting into that negative, if you put out the negative, that the negative is definitely what it is that you'll be getting. And then it gets really hard to get yourself out of that mindset of negativity. One thing that you really want to watch with Jung is going into fluorescent lighting. If you have it at your home, a lot of times it's definitely at at any markets or stores. Fluorescent lighting for Kopavi as well as Jung just is the hardest thing that they don't know how to assimilate that particular energy. It's sort of a false energy for it to absorb, so to speak. So we just kind of want to, as much as we can, particularly if we're having any symptoms of Jung being out, we really want to not go shopping that day. Mentally, for the words that we want to be aware of, the words for Jung, the root emotion of Jung is anger, which isn't it's a hard emotion for Jung to work with. Just because it ruins our vision of where we're wanting to be. And it's a negative blast that Jung goes like this. It's like that allergen. The body goes like this, and we suck it in. So if all of a sudden we have an outburst of anger, or somebody has an outburst of anger to us, Jung goes like this. So that it doesn't have to, it tries everything it can not to accept that energy, because it's so hard in that area to have to deal with the outbursts of anger. So the words that could weaken Jung, and we want to be aware of, is abrasive, aggressive, annoyed, argumentative, belligerent, boiling, caustic, defiant, demanding, disgusted, explosive, fierce, frustrated, fuming, furious, hostile, impatient, indignant, irate, jealous, livid, mad, outraged, pushy.
What was that?
Pushy. Rebellious. Resentment. Smoldering. Spiteful. stubborn, vengeful, and violent. How are those words? Any of those words work for you or wake anything up in you tonight, Robin?
No, but this is the first list where I was like, yeah, every single one of these like closes you down.
Yeah.
Like every single one of those, where like some of them, it's like they hit me more, but like these are all the kind of words that like I don't really want to focus on, right? Like I don't want to think about those. And that, yeah, definitely when, I guess, yes, the root of all of those words is anger.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. They're like the stages of anger.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. How about you, Aviana?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are a couple words in there that can't say that I necessarily use the words, but there are emotions that I can feel at any given point in the situation.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can feel those words as well. At one time I could not feel those words. I didn't want to feel those words. I didn't know what those words felt like, and I didn't want to explore what those words would feel like either. I had no desire. It's like, okay, oh no, that's too scary for me. So we just want to, be watching our spoken word with Sin Jung. It's really important for that, particularly whatever it is that we're wanting to manifest. That's just a real important one because we're putting that one out there through that vision. So we want to create that sparkly bridge, and any negativity will just shut it down just a little bit. This one comes out here, comes out the sides, and it comes out the back as well. So how we can bring the herb for Sin Jung is sweetgrass. You ever smelled sweetgrass? It smells so good. And sweetgrass is all about bringing clarity to the mind. It smells really good. It's really hard to keep lit. I'm smudging you gals right now. Go. I love sweetgrass. It's just a little hard, as I said, to keep lit. Sweetgrass brings clarity of mind. It acts as if you burn it, it acts as a disinfectant and a insecticide. If you cut it up, because it comes in really long braids. This one's probably close to a 1.5 feet or 2 feet long right here. This is usually how you find them, in a braid like that. And so what you do is you just cut off some chunks of it and break it up. And then probably in about 3 cups of water, you boil it. And then you can use it as a gargle for your throat, or you can use it as for toothaches. Cloves also acts very well for toothaches, clove oil. For your ears, for earaches, if you are having those, you can use a tincture made out of chamomile, plantain, prickly ash, and garlic oil. mix that together, and that will, just a few drops down there will help. So that will clear up any kind of earache you might have. Snake root, a bit of that. It's a little root. It smells like celery. Some people don't like the smell of it. Some people do. It smells really clean to me when I burn snake root. Snake root, if burned, will help with migraines. If you break a little piece off and you chew it, it's, I don't know if you've ever heard of the saying, it's a bitterer kind of a medicine, or and bitterer the betterer. So bitterer the betterer is usually what you want to use when you've got something that is ailing you, is going on. Bitters also will make you drink more water. So it's helping you to flush out that dis-ease that you might be having. Snake root really helps with the sinuses. It helps to kill any virus that you might have going on in there. If you use a nice steam for your sinuses, for eucalyptus, clove, and lemons. And you just put that in a big old pot and let that boil and steam. If you need to, if you're so congested that you just can't get anything to move, just put your head over it with a towel. You don't want it to be necessarily boiling when you put your head over it with the towel, but you want it to be hot. And you want to be under there as long as you can stand it. And then what you want to do is you just want to take in some deep breaths in through your nose. Each breath you take in, and out through your mouth. If you're so congested that you can't go out through your nose. And then each time you breathe in, just breathe in a little bit further, a little bit deeper. It's really good for the skin and the pores. They love it a lot. And then that green drink that I gave you for Kopavi works really well for Sinjong. And that was a tablespoon of the spirulina seaweed. And a tablespoon or up to a tablespoon of the hemp powder. I like to use half pineapple juice and half water with that one, but it's not, a must. It's just, I like the enzymes that pineapple juice gives. I like the bromides that it gives, and it does have some nice protein. I like the flavor too. It's not too sweet for me. I'll actually take that drink every day because my brain really needs the support. Just because of all the bombarding that we're getting all over the place. And that drink is really, really good for the immune system and the heart as well. So brain, immune, and heart is that green drink I'm in. So physically, we can bring Sinjong back to balance by, of course, drinking more water. Feeding that hydro plant that's up here. Our hydro plant, our brain, it really is 85% or so water. And it really takes huge hits when we're on the TV or on the computer in front of the TV. It's just unbelievable how big of a blast Sinjong takes sitting in that kind of area. So just keep hydrating just for your brain alone. If you have any of these symptoms, you want immediately keep feeding it in. You can also stretch and open the third eye. So by just taking your fingers in either hand, it doesn't matter, but Sinjong is going to be just on either side of our eyebrows. So we just want to take our fingers and push up. Open that eye, physically open that eye. If it's been shut for a long time, it feels really good just to kind of open it a little bit and see how that feels. And then the other thing you can do is take both of your hands and fingers and just stretch it this way. So you're stretching it open this way too. And that feels really good. Just to open that up and kind of get the cobwebs out of there a little bit. How's that feel? I'm seeing you smile a little bit, Robin.
It's good. When we did it this way,
yeah.
I was like, I took my hand away right, and I'm like, oh, tingle, 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 tingle. That was nice.
Yeah. So your third eye was not really sure. Maybe you wanted to close just a little bit. And that tingle is opening, a sign of being opened. That's cool. Yeah. Good. I didn't see you really work it, Aviana, so I didn't go there with you.
I was writing.
Got it. So yeah, stretch it open and then open it, push it up. Sometimes you can feel a little resistance as you're trying to push it up. You know, if you're just nice, softly pushing up.
Yeah.
How's that feel for you?
It feels good.
Yeah.
It feels
nice and soft.
Energized.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good. Another thing that we can do to open there's a couple things you can do to open your sinuses. First thing is you can actually push on either side of the bridge of the nose and then right at the bottom of the apex of the sinuses. So we have kind of a little square going. And you're just putting pressure, as I said, at the bridge and then with your thumbs at the lower most point of those sinuses. And you're just holding. Sometimes you're gonna hold it and it's gonna hurt. Just hold that pressure on there, and eventually it will release. It will just all of a sudden go pop and just open up. Sometimes it just feels good to put that pressure in there, you know, and it will help the eyes relax as well as you're putting that pressure in there. So any muscles that are around there will just go kind of relax a little bit. Another thing you can do with the energy within your whole body, and this happens to us when we've been stressed or we've had a surgery or some kind of traumatic incident, where our energies will normally run in a cross type of fashion. You know, it comes in our left foot, up our leg, crosses over our belly button, ends up at our right, going out our right arm, and same with our left. It goes in our left hand and then it crosses over our belly button, goes out our right foot. A lot of people believe about that particular circuitry. If we've been stressed a lot, if we've had surgery, if we've had a lot of trauma, that those energy lines will go like this instead of like this. So then our body's not feeling quite grounded, we really can't get our energy up, and we just don't know how we can, we can't figure out anything because we're not grounded, we can't focus, we can't do anything other than just sit there and go, what is wrong? So there's two ways you can do it, and it's actually taking in a seated position, you take your left elbow to your right knee and your right elbow to your left knee. And you do that just a couple times, and that will help cross back those energies so that you can focus, so that you can concentrate, so that you can just kind of walk around. You only have to do it 10 to 30 seconds. Or if you choose, you can get up and go to the bathroom and do it in a standing type of exercise or motion. And in that way, it would be like a march, like you're marching. So you're still turning your left elbow over to your right knee. You pick your right knee up and you're just kind of really exaggerating that kind of crossover energy. And so that will also help bring your whole body back into balance. A lot of times when I do it in a standing motion, I will swing my arms over. And so I start probably at waist level, and then each time I go a little bit higher and a little bit higher, so that now I have my right arm here and I've got my left knee there, and I'm really getting that. And then I can get an adjustment throughout even the upper part of my body as I'm coming over there. So you can then start self-adjusting some things as you're doing that as well. So just by doing like an exaggerated motion, that will help align that upper part of your torso, and sometimes up into your sternum and your neck area as well. Salt ceremony is going to also help this one. It's going to just help to open things up and help for clarity and help us to be able to focus. I would also recommend, if you can't do it, then have somebody go to a chiropractor and work on getting C2-3 adjusted. Another thing you can do, and I don't know if you gals have ever heard about this, for itchy ears or for trouble hearing or ringing in the ear, is a technique called, it's a very old technique, it's called ear candling. Have you ever heard of or had ear candling done? I actually love ear candling. It feels so good. Especially the way I was trained is you work the sinuses here and here and even in the neck. And so then it starts pulling out candida, and it starts pulling out a lot of that prescription drugs, a lot of that stuff that the body can't break down, but it stores. And so for other people that may be taking this class at another time, ear candling is, there are a couple different styles or patterns, and they're usually hollow. This one is not hollow, but it has a little catch, like a little filter catch of the 4 directions in it. It's a Hopi design candle made in Australia, kind of thing. And then they have some bigger ones too, and they're usually, the base of them is usually made out of beeswax with a muslin cloth. And they're wrapped around, and then they're dipped, and they're a hollow tube. These are hollow. These are some of the original ear candles that they made. And so what you do is, and you don't get to do this one alone. You must have help. It's, the way of the West. You have to ask for help sometimes. And if you don't, then you get sick if you try to do this without help, because you're not pulling out everything that you need to pull out. So you light one end of the candle, and then a lot of times I like to hold pressure at the end of it so that the smoke will come down through the chamber. You move your finger, and you'll have smoke coming out here. Your client is laying on a table with the most affected or most painful side up first, and you want to get this candle as perpendicular to the hole or the orifice of the ear canal that you can. And you put it in. Excuse me. Sometimes you have to blow the smoke a little bit so that as you're placing it in, you can be very careful with it. I usually have a little paper plate wrapped in tinfoil that I put right about here so that nothing will fall down on the client or anything like that. And so what you're doing is you're creating a vacuum that goes down into the ear canal and just kind of starts permeating through all the sinuses and all the places that that toxic matter can find itself storing. And so then what it does is, in that vacuum thing that we're creating, then it will pull up all the debris and all the wax in through the candles. I like to usually do at least 3 or 4 per ear. If you only do one or two, it's just starting the process. And so then you've left a whole bag of beans, so to speak, in the ear, and you're not complete with your program. So you want to do 3 or 4 in each ear. You want to also ask to make sure that you're not doing too much. We don't want to overdo, then it will become really raw. A lot of times people will get a little sicker before they get any better. And then there's a line about 2/3 of the way down that you burn your candle to, and then you put it out, and at the end you can cut it open and you can see the debris that you've pulled out, and if they choose to see that. Some people like to see it, some people don't. So that's what we can do with ear candling. It's quite an amazing technique. I've had a lot of really good success with it. And then the other thing that you can do is those cheater sizes that we talked about doing in Dai Cho. And that's where you're actually rolling your neck with your chin to your shoulder, not your ear to your shoulder. You're getting a really good stretch out through that way. And just 3 times all the way around. You want to look up towards the ceiling as you're rolling. Look for those spiders that might be up there. And you come around to the other side. That's good. Nice and slow and easy. Bring your chin down to your chest as far as you can. I like to do that 3 times each way. And then even rolling the shoulders when you're done. Rolling them back 3 times. Rolling them forward. And that's just going to stretch that whole area. Hopefully stretch out C2 or 3. Yeah, get that stuff released. Get it out. Yeah. So, in just noticing our time here, I'm just going to close real quick. You gals stay here. Thank you for coming tonight. It's been an honor and a privilege to spend some time with Sin Jung, number 5, our third eye. Our next gathering, we will be talking about Babid, number 6, which is our navel. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you again. We'll see you next time.